Hey friends, it's Lucas here. Hope you're doing well on this fine day. I've been thinking a lot lately. I've been thinking a lot about perception and perception versus reality and what we think of the world versus what's true about the world, and just a lot of interesting things been going around in my mind. It kind of started on Tuesday. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and he's like halfway across the world from me, which is one of the beautiful things about these times that we live in. Is, I mean, I've always had a network of people. No, I can't say always, but over the last couple of years I've had a network of people that's incredibly spread out. You know, most of the people I see on a regular basis don't live anywhere near me. And so we connect on Zoom all the time, and we talk to each other from across the planet. It's amazing. Anyway, I'm rambling. I'm having this Zoom chat the other day with a friend of mine, and we were talking about some stuff. And we've known each other now for a year and a half or so, not quite a year and a half, and we work together a little bit, and he's gotten to know me quite well. And we often have these very deep, fairly philosophical type chats, and we were talking just about life and achievements and just things that are going on. And he said something interesting to me. We were talking, I can't remember exactly what led to it, but he said something along the lines of, "Man, you're like a walking story." And at first I was a little puzzled. It was like, what do you mean? And he was referring to the story of how a few years ago my life was a disaster, and how over the last few years I've been putting things together. And he said to me, he said, "Lucas, I feel like it's important for me to tell you this because I don't think you see it." And I was a little puzzled. He said, "I don't think you see all the people that are rooting for you." And I was kind of taken aback by that. He said, "You don't see the conversations that we've had about you and about how we hope your business is going to do okay and that things are good. And you don't see the conversations we've had about you where we talk about where you were 3 years ago versus where you are now, and how it's so amazing that you've just done the things you've needed to do." And he talked about all these conversations that had gone on behind my back that I knew nothing about. And it was so fascinating because as he went through this list, he was talking about all these amazing people that I love and respect so much, who had so many nice things to say about me when I wasn't around, and all these conversations that had happened about me that were just so uplifting and nice. And it was interesting because, you know, for my whole life I've always suspected that people talk behind my back, right? I think everybody has that feeling at some point. We all assume that people talk about us or gossip about us or whatever it is, and I was no different. I've always had that assumption that people were talking behind my back, and this conversation totally confirmed it. But it was fascinating because, you know, for most of my life I always assumed people had bad things to say about me when I wasn't around. You know, I always assumed that people were friendly to my face and shitty to me behind my back. That was just how I thought the world was. That's how I thought my place in the world was. And it was a huge part of the reason I was so depressed all the time. And you know, the interesting thing is that I had no proof of that. You know, I had no proof that anybody ever had anything bad to say about me behind my back. I mean, I had the odd time when I had heard about something bad somebody said, but who hasn't, right? Everybody's had those moments. But I sat there on Tuesday morning listening to my friend talking the way he was and realizing, like, man, how many of the conversations that have gone on behind my back about me have been positive? You know, how many of the people that I thought were talking behind my back had good things to say about me? And the more I thought about it, the more I realized, you know, I bet you it was way more than had negative things to say about me. You know, I bet you it was way more than were trying to put me down. It was more likely that there's people around talking about how great it is to have me around and how much of a benefit I've been in their life in some way. And I think that's the case more often than not for a lot of people. Man, the autofocus is having trouble in this low light. But that's the case for a lot of people. You know, a lot of people assume that people have nothing but bad things to say about them. A lot of people assume that people see them in the worst light. A lot of people assume that the rest of the world is out to get them for some reason or other. And most of the time it's just not true. You know, we're so hard on ourselves, we're so judgmental and critical of ourselves that it's really hard to remember sometimes that other people are not always like that, and that oftentimes we have the worst possible idea in our mind, and that other people actually generally see us in a better light than we see ourselves. And generally other people are more able to see amazing things about us that we don't even see in ourselves. But there's a saying that I've heard a lot of times from a lot of different people, and that's, a butterfly can't see its own wings. And humans are a lot the same way. You know, a butterfly has these beautiful patterned wings on their backs that just make them look like the most magnificent, beautiful creatures, and they have no idea that they're that beautiful. And humans have these amazing traits, each and every single one of us. We have these amazing qualities and these amazing things that we do that are just second nature to us, but other people see them, and other people notice them, and other people appreciate them. And those beautiful things about us as individuals, as humans, are our butterfly wings. You know, those are the parts that we don't always see, but they're there, and the rest of the world sees them. And it's hard sometimes because we live in a world where in many ways it's been trained out of us to speak good to each other. It feels really weird to say that out loud, but it absolutely has. You know, men have been taught that it's not okay to compliment other men about stuff, and women have gotten into this attitude of being super competitive all the time with each other. I see it constantly, and everybody's super competitive with each other, and everybody's always trying to cut each other down. And we've just been trained by the way society is to be shy about acknowledging that beauty in each other sometimes. And because of that, it's really easy to assume that when folks talk about us behind our backs that they have nothing but bad things to say. And you know what? That's just not been my experience. You know, I've stood with a lot of people that were talking behind people's backs and saying some of the most incredible things. And I mean, I'm lucky that I hang out with really cool people that say really cool things when people aren't around. I'm very aware there are people that aren't like that, but I think more often than not people do tend to be like that, and people do tend to want to say the best things they can when you're not there. I mean, as long as you're a decent person. You know, if you're a jerk, people probably talk about how you're a jerk behind your back, but that, I feel like, is probably your own fault in some capacity, but that's a whole other conversation. My point is, if you're worried that people are talking about you behind your back, chances are good they are. But there's a very good chance that you're worried they're saying negative things, and the reality of it probably is they have lots of good things to say. And the reality of it is you're way more amazing than you can ever see or understand on your own. And you're way more powerful and way more wonderful and capable and beautiful. And you have so much going for you that you don't see. You have these amazing butterfly wings on you that the rest of the world can see. And sometimes when things are tough, you've got to just trust the people around you when they say good things about you. You've got to trust that they mean it, and that it's true, and that you are worthy and capable and amazing just as you are, because you totally are. And you're more so than you can possibly imagine. And you need to know that. And that's one of the keys, I think, to overcoming depression, or to dealing with being sad, or to becoming the best version of you, or anything, is to realize that you are amazing. And that I am amazing, and that the world's amazing, and that other people are amazing, and that, I mean, it's just, life is way more amazing than you realize. And sometimes it's hard to notice, but if you pay attention and you look around, you see it. And it is there. And yeah, I just keep remembering my friend's statement. It's like, you're a walking story. And it's not just me, it's everybody. You know, you are currently, with everything that you do and everything that you think and every direction that you ever go in your life, you are writing your life's story. And you get to decide what that looks like, and you get to decide what direction that goes, and you get to decide every bit of it, which is just the most incredible thing ever. And I really hope that you realize that, and that you realize how much capacity you have to influence your own life, and that you realize that your perspective on things right now, especially if you're in a dark place looking at the world from a depressed mindset, because I get it, man, I've been there. But sometimes when you're in that place, your perspective of the world is pretty dark. And sometimes when you're in that place, your perspective of the world is not even close to accurate. And that's one of the things that often keeps you trapped in that darkness. So surround yourself with people that you can have those kind of conversations with, that will actually tell you how amazing you are. And make sure they're people that you trust, so that when they say that kind of stuff, you'll believe them, because that's another important part of it. If you surround yourself with yes people that just tell you what you want to hear all the time, you're not going to believe them, and you're not going to trust them when they say that you're as amazing as you are. And the fact of the matter is, you are so much more amazing than you could possibly realize. And I think it's so important that you start to wake up to that fact, because the clock is ticking. You know, every day is one more day gone, and the longer it takes for you to come to that realization, the longer you might find yourself stuck, or you might find yourself not living up to your full potential, or you might find yourself being a less than epic version of yourself. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with any of that, but what I'm saying is that if you have any inclination to be the best version of you, the time to do something about it is now, and the motivation to do something about it is in changing your perspective on the world and realizing that you're amazing. And the world is amazing, and people have amazing things to say about you, even if you don't realize it yet. So anyway, thanks for listening, thanks for sticking with me. I hope the autofocus issues haven't been bothering you too much. Like I said, it's kind of late, kind of dark. It's fall. I guess I'm gonna have to start shooting some videos indoors from now on. Anyway, I hope you're doing fantastic today, and I'll speak to you again very soon.